Welcome to Dynamic Online Service. My name is Karima, and today I am going to show you live how to create a ad campaign, a lead generation ad campaign on the Meta platform. Now, I've got to teach myself to say Meta because previously we were saying Facebook, and that also included Instagram, but of course Facebook upgraded and rebranded a while ago. So now we're going to teach ourselves to say Meta. So the first thing you need to do before you even go and set up the ads is you need to decide what strategy you're going to put into place. On lead generation ads, the aim of them generally is to get enough people understanding and knowing that you exist, whether you're a coach, whether you're trying to find leads for, housing contractor or a painter or a lawyer or a physiotherapist, or any time where you want people to know you exist and you want them to somehow contact you. What that contact looks like, we can talk about later on, but getting them to contact you, getting Facebook to deliver, or Meta, to deliver those, your ad to the people that you think are going to be the people that you want to know about your business, the people that you think would benefit from working with your business. So that can be very broad from the point of view of, say, a person doing household renovations, or even say a plumber or a builder or an auto mechanic. That can be very broad, from literally an auto mechanic would be anybody who owns a car within a defined local area within Australia, because obviously I'm not going to take my car to be serviced miles and miles away. I'm going to take my car to be serviced in a local area. So before you even start to think about what that ad setup would look like, you need to think about who is your audience, who are your target clients. Are they local? Are they Australia-wide? Are they within certain states? What sort of age they are? Are they males? Are they females? Are they a certain age demographic? And then what sort of interests and behaviours might they have? Over the more recent time, Meta has taken to saying to us, don't bother targeting specific audiences. Keep your targeting very broad. But the problem there is Meta would love you to keep your targeting very broad and have your ad delivered to all of Australia, or all of the world if you don't even go to choose Australia. But the problem there is, are they your target clients? So if you're a local business, then you don't want your ads showing outside of where your defined audience might be living. If you're, say, an ad agency, or you're doing web design, or you're doing graphic design, your clients can come from anywhere within Australia or anywhere within the world, then you can keep your targeting very broad. So give some thought to that first. Who is your targeting? Who are you targeting? Where do they live? How many people are there? And what do they look like? So I always start, before I'm doing any ad, I just need to get this, bear with me for a moment. I don't know how to. Share screen, that's what I'm looking for. So you need to I always firstly start off with some sort of documentation. This is what's called Airtable. It's a piece of free software that allows me to plan out what my audiences are going to be, what my copy is going to be, what my call to action creatives, etc., are going to be. It can be an Excel spreadsheet. It can be a piece of paper. It really doesn't matter what you use. I love everything on computers. So the stages of planning and thinking about an ad is, and this is the stage we're at now, define the assets to be used. What's the copy? What's the creatives? What's the headlines? What's the call to actions? What's the audiences? You also, before you start, you need to define what your budget would be. How much are you willing to spend per day? In a testing budget, you want to spend just amount to get the ads out there delivering, but not so much that you're going to waste money delivering to the wrong people, or having the wrong copy or wrong creative and just not getting results. Trust me, Meta will chew your money up like there's no tomorrow. You want to know how long this is going to run. Is it going to be short? Is it going to be long? The thing with Meta ads is it's no good saying, I want to run an ad for 2 days. Meta ads just don't work like that. If you want to do short-term things, then don't use Meta. Don't use Meta ad platform. You've really got to, particularly when you've never done ads before, you need time for the algorithms behind the scenes to pick up with who your audiences are, to test various things, to get the copy and creative sorted out, and to get the algorithm picking up on what it is you want to do. And now that can sometimes be as long as 3 months. There's some ads I've been running for another one of my businesses, and they started on the 1st of December, and I'm still in testing phase. I'm still trying to work out what is working, what isn't working, because the ads are only one part of the whole ecosystem of what it is you're doing, particularly if you're running ads from the Meta platform out to say a website or a landing page. There's the issue of other website, and is the landing page going to convert? And that's what's happened with this other campaign. The ads have been pretty good. The copy was pretty good. The creative was pretty good. The calls to action were fine. The audiences were fine. All of that was working pretty well. And I am getting good numbers of impressions, good numbers of click-through rates, and good numbers of people landing on the landing page. But they get across to the landing page and they're not converting. They're not doing what I want them to do. In the context of lead ads, that would be that you're just not getting the leads, or you're getting a good number of leads, but you're also not getting quality leads, or you're getting people that you're asking them to book a call and they're booking calls but they're not showing up, or they're booking calls and you're talking to them or you're ringing them and they just say, they don't know who the hell you are. They don't remember having ever responded to the ad, or they sometimes flat out deny that they responded to the ad and they've done it 5 minutes ago, or they're just not ever going to be suitable for your service or your products, mostly services. So define dates, a start and a finish date of an overall campaign. As I said, you want to be longer term rather than shorter term. You can do shorter term later on. Where we do shorter terms is when we're doing generally sales, a sale on a various thing. And lead generation ads, they're generally much longer term. Approval received on assets. This is a setup if you're doing this for a client or for an agency, and then you go to build ads. So notice this is 6 out of number 6 in the list. Ads approved, gone live. It's way down there. So define the assets. What assets do you need to put together? First, you need at least 3 different audiences. Audiences can be what we call cold or warm. A cold audience is a straight out, they don't know you from Adam, never heard of you before, never interacted with your business in any way, shape or form before, and they're generally very cold is an obvious way to call them. And it's not my terminology, it's marketing terminology, but they have no idea who you are. So you're attempting to educate them on who you are. Then we have warmer audiences, and they are audiences that have interacted with your business in some way, shape or form. They've been on your website previously. They've interacted maybe with your Facebook or Instagram account. They've interacted with you in some way, shape or form. And then our last type of our audience is what we call hot. They're people who have previously really interacted with you. They've become your leads. They've booked a call. They're much higher down the stream than any of the cold audiences. So we'll have warm and we'll have hot. In lead generation, you don't do a lot of hot audiences, not unless you've got a recurring lead generation situation. Maybe you're a company that does house washing, or you're the auto mechanic, and you know that you're going to have the same people coming back and back and back and back to you. You might be a marketing agency, and you might have people that will come back to you over and over and over again. They tend to be your hot audience. So you define who they are, you give some thought to who are they and what sort of data sources you would need. So the data sources are basically just Facebook or Meta targeting through the targeting system we'll look at when we get onto the back end, or you're drawing information that the Facebook pixel that you've had installed on your website has picked up. or you've got people who've interacted with this is warm, got people who've interacted with your websites, with your assets on Facebook and Instagram. And that's a different data source. And then you've got the hot, and that's the same data source again, not the same data source again, but another data source, but it's just warmer. It's picked up with different audience creation in the back end of Facebook. Then you also want to gather at least 5 pieces of different copy 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. They need to be similar but not identical. And I'll talk about what later on when we're doing the setup, why we've got those 5. But so think about different ways of saying the same thing, but different in the way in which what you're going to do is test which one of those 5 copy types work best for your audience. We're going to test all 5 in the very beginning of setting a lead generation campaign up. You've got generally 3 different calls to action. So it could be sign up now, download now, shop now, learn more. Which ones you use will depend on what the strategy is of the campaign. And then you generally have 10 different sorts of creative. Creatives are either video or an image. And if you can, 4 different videos and 6 different images, because you want to test what resonates with the audience. Sometimes videos will get you a better result. Other times images will get you a better result. And sometimes images will get you a good result one day, and 3 or 4 or a week later, those same images won't get you a good result, but videos will. So it's about testing. And then 5 different headlines. Headlines are short, sharp, and sweet, but you need 5. So you want to test 5 different ways and work out which one of those is giving you the best result. So once you've got all that sorted out, the ad build is generally what we call top of funnel, middle of funnel, and bottom of funnel. Top of funnel is generally people who don't know you at all. They're predominantly cold audiences. They're people who have not really interacted with your business. They might have known about your business. They could be people who have already seen your Facebook business page or your Instagram account, but they're people who are not readily interacting with you. And they're generally a top of funnel audience is quite wide. We call it a funnel for a particular reason, because up the top of funnel you've got the very big area, and you want lots and lots and lots and lots of people coming in there. And then some will become middle funnel, which is generally the people that you're going to be retargeting to. And then bottom of funnel, you've got even less. They're the people that have, booked a call with you or have already used your service once, twice, or whatever that looks like, and are going to be using your service again. So that's the sort of strategy that we think about in terms of setting up for Meta ads. As you see, I keep going Facebook. So once you've got your Meta, once you've got all that sorted out, I'm going to show this one. Just move this out of the way. So here we are in the back end of a Facebook ad account. So this is not boosted posts. This is the ads manager, and the ads manager is accessed by having a Facebook Business Manager account where you set up an ad account, and then there's various other tabs at the back end. So let's just have a look at those tabs at the back end. We've got Ads Manager. Business Setting is the link into the Facebook Business Manager. Audiences is where you can define your audiences. Events Manager is where we define things like what we want them to do. We want to create an audience that's gone over and undertaken a specific event. Media Library, well, that's pretty self-explanatory. It's all I don't know what I've got in this Media Library. It wants 2-factors on. That drives us insane, but 2-factor is on. Media Library is obviously it's the library of all the images you're using and the videos you're using. Ad account settings probably won't let me go there either because this is you should have all of this filled out, or else Facebook's not going to like you, and it's probably going to start to deactivate the account. Absolutely guaranteed. My dogs know every time I'm going to be needing quiet. So the business settings here is very, very important. You get all this filled out, and on certain situations or certain ads you're running, you need to actually have the account verified. So all tools, let's just have a look at the audiences. So I mentioned before that we need to define audiences. Sometimes you define audiences via just when you're setting up within the ad manager itself. Other times we will create audiences. So I can create audience, I can create a custom audience. So what source of material? Has the source come from the website? Has it come from a customer list? You might have a list of email customers that you've been collecting over the years. Catalog we don't use in lead generation ads. Has it come from a video that you've run within an ad, a lead form that you've been running in Instant Experience, Instagram account, Facebook page, various other places within Facebook. So you can create both custom audiences, which means it's dealing off the data that's in the back end of your ad account and your Facebook account, your Meta account, or you can create a lookalike audience. And a lookalike audience means it's coming off a pixel. I've got various pixels installed. So it's coming off the pixel. And we don't want purchase event. We want to select where they are, and we want to select the percentage of lookalikes. So a 1% lookalike consists of people most similar to your source. So a lookalike audience says to Facebook, here's the people I know about that are in my data. I want you to go out and find people who are very, very similar, 1%, or very or similar but not that similar, 10% to this data I've got, this is where Facebook is incredibly powerful. You don't have to have interacted with those people. You just need to have interacted with people like those people. So the power of the artificial intelligence is it will go in and say, right, the people you interacted with are this age, this sex, living in this area with these interests. Now, we know that Facebook has an incredible amount of, Meta has an incredible amount of data sitting there about all of us behind the scenes. So does Google. And I believe there is a big crossover between Google data and Facebook data. I've never been able to prove it, but I know I can go and Google something in terms of, I'm not even on my Facebook page. I obviously have Facebook open on my computer, but not actively open. And I can go and Google, red convertibles. And behold, I will get red convertibles served up to me in Facebook's newsfeed, even outside of any ads running. And I'll get people who are selling red convertibles, and they'll be served up to me. So this is what makes Facebook so powerful. And then you can settle it down by, if I'm here in Australia, I obviously don't want to waste money advertising a service that I'm offering here in Australia in terms of lead generation to the US when I don't have any interest in servicing the US at all, or the UK or wherever. The bigger your audience is, the more it's going to cost you. So let's say Australia. Select Australia. Let's say I want a very, very, or I sort of tend to hang around in about these sorts of areas. The main pixel. So this pixel is the pixel that you sit and install on the back end of a website. It's also the pixel that's linked up generally to various ad accounts and various other assets you've got on your account. So I'll create the audience. Thinking. Source is too small. Obviously, this is a demo account, so there's just not enough data sitting there on the back end. Okay, so cancel. Custom audience, the same. Let's assume I've got the pixel on a website, the main account pixel. I can choose all website visitors. I can choose people who visit specific pages. I can all sorts of different ways in which I can choose what I want this audience to look like. When you're doing the very beginning of lead generation ads, when it's a brand new ad setup, you want to be very broad. You don't want to lock down a lot of these criteria. You want to try and get your information and your ad up there to as many people as possible. Later on is when we use far more of these sorts of things. So you can include people, you can exclude people, and there is very strategic ways of which you would include or you would exclude. You give it a name, you give it a description. You can also say how soon, how long. It might be everyone in the 180 is what it goes up to. You might say, everyone in the last 180 days, or you might say everyone in the last 5 days. Again, this is the strategy. I'm not going to go into the strategy here today. It's just too complex an area to talk about. But you need to think about what strategically you want to achieve here. And again, that goes back to the document I had open before, which is, what are you trying to achieve here? Stop and give some thought to, what am I doing? Too often I see people go into Facebook ads and Meta ads. See, I keep doing it, and they just throw stuff out there, and they have no idea why they're doing it or what they're trying to achieve. And that's why I always say to people, sit back and say, what is it you want to achieve here? Who do you want to who do you want to advertise to? What do you want them to do when you advertise to them? So that's various audiences. We're going to cancel that. Media library. I think I went in there before. I can't. It's a two-factor. So let's go back to the setting ad out. So we go back to Ads Manager. So on a, I'm going to get rid of this for a moment. I was playing around before. So the first thing in a lead generation ad is, and again, we're talking strategy here again, but there's various ways to do strategy. Top of funnel, you want to get the most numbers of people, suitable people, seeing your ad as possible via those 3 different audiences. Now, there are various ways to do that, and here we get quite a lot of disagreement in the industry with ad buyers as to whether you should go for awareness, traffic, engagement, leads, app promo. That doesn't apply in lead generation, and sales doesn't apply in lead generation. So Facebook's got really good over recent years of actually simplifying this process. So as you see, awareness shows your ads to people who are most likely to remember them. Good for reach, brand awareness, video views, store location awareness. So what we find too is that no matter what Meta tells us these ads are good for, we're going to need to end up testing some campaign objectives. In a brand new lead generation ad, I would be testing awareness. I would be testing traffic, which is good for link clicks, landing page views, Messenger and WhatsApp, and calls. Engagement, good for Messenger, Instagram and WhatsApp, video views, post engagement conversions. Leads, good for instant forms, Messenger, conversions and calls. App promotion doesn't apply. Sales is what we predominantly use in e-commerce. So I'd be testing awareness, maybe traffic, depending on whether I was sending them across to a lead form or whether I was sending them across to a landing page off Meta, or whether I was sending, I might also be sending them across to a Messenger and WhatsApp. So read through these and think to yourself, which one of these is going to best suit what I want to achieve here. Again, we're back to strategy. Engagement, I must admit, I very rarely use engagement. Any time now, I tend to use either awareness and traffic, and I will tend to start with testing awareness, testing traffic. Leads, if I'm doing an instant form, which is the Facebook forms, where you click on an ad and it says fill out your details, and that's on Facebook, and then they're giving you their details, name, phone number, they're giving their name and their phone number, or they're doing that, sending that into a messenger. I won't be using that if I'm not using an on Facebook form, and the other two we're not going to make. So let's set up an awareness campaign. Continue. So it's going to ask us to name it. We're just going to leave it as new awareness campaign for starters. Special ad categories. Within certain ad categories, you must have a verified account, and you must say which one of these it is. credit, employment or housing, social issues, election or politics. If it's just a general, like, you know, I'm an auto mechanic and I want to get leads for my auto mechanic, or I'm a plumber, or I'm a lawyer, or I'm an ad agency and I want leads, you don't need to be into any of these special categories, because special categories means you've got to have a whole lot of verification of both the person running the ads and also your ad account going on. So most of the time we don't have to worry about that. Buying type, they're always auction. You can, I don't even know why it's got edit on there, because in an awareness campaign you have no choice but auction with awareness. So that's A/B test. I don't tend to do a lot of A/B testing. My A/B testing when I'm doing meta ads tends to be within the various campaigns I'm setting up. Again, there's some ad buyers who disagree with me on that. The thing about meta ads is it's all about testing. The more testing you do, the more you're going to see what's going to give you the result you need. Now, Advantage campaign budget, I tend to put that on in terms of this start of this very, very, very general testing phase, because it's going to distribute my budget across ad sets to get more results depending on the optimization choices and bid strategy. You can, and I can control spending on each ad set. There's, again, a lot of debate within the industry about should you turn it on, should you turn it off. I actually did a test recently where I had the same, exactly the same identical ads with exactly the same identical copy, budget, headlines, etc., etc., etc. Some I turned Advantage campaign budget on, some I turned it off, and I literally split test them against each other. And, you know, the result was the same no matter which way I did it. Again, some of this is more advanced level stuff that you worry about later. I start with either $5 or $10 in the very beginning, and I usually do highest volume, and I usually run ads all the time without worried about what you know, what sort of turning on and turning off is going on. So straight away, wrong page. Let's take this page for sake of argument, because this is a dummy account. It's not set up with all my pages. But so choose which Facebook page you want this connected to. You must have an ad connected to a Facebook page, and it generally has to be the same niche as what you're advertising. Like if you're doing on Facebook forms and your page is about animal healing energy and you're doing forms for an automotive, that's just going to confuse the daylights out of the algorithm. So everybody must have a Facebook business page. You can't, although it does let you do these to personal pages, the problem is that's going to cause all sorts of issues. And in my belief is that's also why a lot of ad accounts get shut down. So in testing, I always turn dynamic creative on, and I'll explain what that means in a minute. And I just generally accept the default date to start with. I don't set an end date unless I'm doing a certain option, and I generally don't set an ad spend limit because I can control all of that manually. Then it's going to say to me, okay, so who do you want to send this ad to? I can either use a custom audience or I can use one that I defined previously in that system where we were a minute ago. The location, I need to edit location. So if I'm going to all of Australia, it's all of Australia. If I'm going to New South Wales, New South Wales. Do I want it to be people living in or recently in this location, people living in this location, recently in this location, or people traveling? Again, come back to your strategy. What is it you want to achieve? If you're an auto mechanic and you only ever deal with people who live in your location, then you don't want it to be people who are recently there. People who are traveling, because why would you advertise to people that aren't your target clients? However, if you are running a tourism business in, say, Cairns, then you'd want to set people traveling in this location, and you'd want to set, Cairns. Again, think about what it is. Think about what it is you're doing, and within these location like Cairns, you can set it to. Do you want people who are 25 miles away, 50 miles away? How far do they come from within Cairns to use your services, to come to your business? If you're a pizza place and you're in a decent size city like Sydney, then you want to narrow this right down. You don't want to do Sydney, because honestly, are people from the North Shore going to come to a pizza place in Sutherland? So you can come down as low as Sutherland, and you can say, well, I know that the majority of my customers come from 5 kilometres radius around me, or or miles, depending on. I think you can generally set this both ways. For some reason, this one's set to miles because I obviously haven't got the back end setting set up right. Because I know that there's 10 other pizza places further away. So don't waste your money advertising to people who are too far away. You can do things like, find a spot and drop a pin. Then, and how old? To be very broad, and this is what a lot of lead generation is. It's 18 to 65. That's the broadest you can go. But again, what is your business doing? If it's only homeowners and it's only people who own big homes, then honestly, is an 18-year-old going to own one of them? But don't shut your testing down too much in the very early stages, because Facebook does do better with more information than less. You can save the audience. You just give it a name, and that saves it back into that audience section where we before. Because we're in testing, it take the default, which is Advantage Plus Placements. It just sets it out pretty well everywhere. Okay, so next, and give it a name. Try and be consistent about your naming. I've just left these on default, but try and make what the campaign level is, the ad set level, and the ad levels. Try and make it make sense, because honestly, when you're going back to trying to work out what's working here and what's not working here, then it becomes really difficult. So set the Facebook page, set the Instagram account if there is an Instagram account. If not, just leave it blank. Now, this is where the decisions happen. I've never used this bit, to be honest. If you remember back in this one, we set use dynamic creative. Yeah. Sometimes I hate the way Facebook puts this stuff in there, and I don't want it. So dynamic creative means that I can select up to, doesn't like some of these images. I can select up to 10 pieces of creative. And as you saw before, when I had that sheet open before, that can be videos or images. So I'm going to select these. See how it's put each one out there. And I can select videos. 3. So I've now got 10 of 10. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tap into the power of the algorithm to mix and match one piece of copy to one piece of creative to one headline, and do a whole lot of the mixing and matching there behind the scenes for me, and hopefully deliver me the best possible result. As you see, you can do single images or videos, or you can do carousels. So again, generally when you're doing testing, you'll play with what's going to give the best result. But you would do these on separate ad sets. Optimize creative. So primary text, I'm going to do copy 1, copy 2, and this would be, remember when we had the when we had the ad approval copy page set up before, I would be jumping across to there, grabbing copy 1, copy 2, copy 3, etc., and just putting it in. Five, add a website URL. Do I want to add a website URL? It depends on what I want them to do. Do I want them to find my website? Do I have a website? Do I want them to go to a form? There's all sorts of different ways. This is an awareness ad, so I probably would add a website URL. And there it would be, you know, blah, 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 whatever the website is. Headlines, remember we had those headlines we set up before. Now this is the best way to get the maximum amount of information. Oops, caps lock. From Facebook. It's going to take all of the combinations of all of these, mix and match with, and tell you what best resonates with your audience. And we see that by how many impressions we're getting, along with the click-through rates, and that's the subject of another video. Reading these results once you get them. Okay, description I tend not to do unless I'm doing something very particular. Calls to action, we could be learn more, we could be order now. What's another one that might apply now? We can't do, we've got that. Book now, because we're doing lead generation. So we're going to test which one of those gets the people to do the most action. And then let's say we've got this all set up. We would then hit publish. I don't want to hit publish because I don't want to go live with this. And then I would back away from, once I've got something published, I back away from Meta for at least 3 days, preferably more like a week. What I would do is I'd go back then, I say, right, that's an awareness. So I would now cancel. I want to create new campaign. All right, now I also want to test a traffic ad. No categories, auction, all of this is the same. A/B test, yes, I turn that on. Next. I would name it. So where do I want to drive traffic to? Do I want to drive it to the website? Do I want to drive it to Messenger? Do I want to drive it to WhatsApp? Or do I want to drive it to calls? All of these gives us different options. And basically, honestly, at the beginning of a lead generation campaign, when you've never done ads before, it's a let's see what we throw at the wall and see what works. And that's why you never do a big budget per ad set or per campaign or per ad, because you want to see what's out there, what's going to result. You always hear people around the group saying, but how do I learn how to do Facebook ads? Well, this is how you learn. You actually go out there and do a whole stack of stuff and you see what happens. The real suck it and see approach to ads. Facebook calls. Yeah, I don't want that. See, there's so many different options here. Normally you wouldn't have this many options in terms of doing this. So connect WhatsApp. I don't have a WhatsApp, so what have I left it at? I want it left at website. Again, dynamic creative on. I use dynamic creative a lot when I'm doing this early testing. And I will optimize for landing page or link clicks. I had a discussion with one of the Meta marketing reps the other day who swore black and blue that link clicks was going to give me a better result than landing page views. So great, not a problem. I set up traffic campaigns and I A/B tested link clicks versus landing page views. And what happened was I got better results on landing page views, because what I was doing was I was directing people, I was doing awareness of a business, awareness across to my aim being I wanted them to become aware of the business and I wanted them to land on the landing page. He said we'll deliver more ads to the people more likely to click on them. Well, that didn't happen. The landing page gave me the better. They gave me a higher click-through rate and more people actually physically landing on the landing page. I don't care whether they're going to click. What I care about is the fact that they go to where I want them to go to. And then there's, we deliver your ads to people up to once a day. I've never used that. We'll deliver your ads to people as many times as possible. Tend not to use that either. I tend to use these two. Then there's all sorts of other things you can change. Schedule I wouldn't do. Again, I would be using. So what you want to do is when you're testing engagement versus traffic, you want to set your traffic ads and your engagement ups with exactly the same audiences. It's really important with Facebook or with Meta that we shouldn't try and change too many variables at once, because if you've got traffic set up to audiences ABC and engagement set up to audiences DEF, even if you're using the same copy and creatives and headlines and calls to action, you don't know what's making the difference. Is it the traffic campaign settings that are making the difference versus the engagement, or is it the different audiences? So you always start testing and changing one thing at once. Plus you then let it run for enough time to actually give you some results. So I would be setting this up with exactly the same audiences that I set up the previous one with. And I do the same placements, all placements selected. Every time I go on this, they've changed things and moved things around. So, and then I would be going across to the ads, and it's not branded content. This is the Facebook page I want to use. This is the Instagram account I want to use. I want to do, there is no catalog, that only applies in e-commerce. Manual upload, single image or video, because I'm testing this against the single image or videos that we actually had in the awareness one we just set up. I select the same images. Can't remember what I selected now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6, 7, 8, 9. I must have done another image. There, that one will do me. And I would put the same, again, I'm not going to do it because it's going to waste time. I will put the same copy, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, headline 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, website URL, I would add that in, and I would put the same 3 calls to action. And then I would hit publish again. So within, if I do want to test different audiences, this has been set up with one particular, get rid of traffic. If I do want to set up test different audiences, what I would do is, this is say audience 1. I would duplicate this to the original campaign. And I would, and that what that does is it picks up everything else I've already set up there, but I would go down and I would add a new audience. Just, you really got to watch yourself when you're doing this duplication out here, because this is where the Facebook backend can be quite dicey. So I might add this one to a different audience, but it's going to pick up all the other settings will remain the same, and then I would rename it some other like audience 2. And then I would leave all the rest of it the same, so I'm comparing like with like. The only thing I've changed, they're both awarenesses, but the only thing I've changed is who this audience is being directed to. So basically, when you're on the back end, depends on what your budget is. In an ideal world, your budget is big enough to test as much as you need to test. But again, just remember, don't start changing many things within any of these setups because you just will not be able to interpret the results. So I've ended up now with two awareness ads, and one should be so that's awareness ad set. So it's audience 2. This should be audience 1. Don't know why I've got. This is where Facebook can get a bit weird. So just refresh that. I don't know why they all disappeared. There it is. Okay. The best thing you can do with the Facebook backend is refresh at times, because it will sometimes get stuck with something you've started and then gone back out of, and it just gets stuck there. So I find that I end up refreshing a fair bit. And of course, you wouldn't ever want to start with that at $20 a day. You want to start with that at 5 or 10. Just got time quickly to show you a lead generation ad, a lead form ad. Facebook page. Obviously, the terms of service haven't been accepted here. That's not a problem. If I wanted to particularly use that account, I would just view terms and accept them. All right, I agree. Accept. Same daily budget 5. And basically the bottom end of all of this is the same whether no matter what you're doing. Let's grab an audience 1. So again, same thing. I would add that same 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 primary text, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 headlines, 3 calls to action, and I would add the same media. I'm not going to do it because you've seen it before. I would add the same media. So like with like, all I'm changing here is the type of ad being used, and I'm going to create an instant form. So these are the forms you see when you click and you stay on the Facebook platform. There is some argument that staying on the Facebook platform and not going off to a landing page in this day and age where Apple has changed some of their targeting is better. Honestly, 6 of one, half a dozen others. So what do you want the form to do? A form that's quick to fill out and submit on a mobile, or do you want higher intent where they've actually got to confirm their information? I tend to use higher intent more often than not, or you want to do custom, and that's sort of quite a lot of other settings. What do you, what image do you want? Or you can use an image from the ad. What's your headline? So blah, 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 blah. Blah, 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 blah. Do you, what questions do you need to ask them questions? Email, full name, multiple choice. You do, again, what do you want to achieve with this? But remember that the more things you put on a form, the less results you're going to get, the less submissions you're going to get by the form. It's just human nature is that people, the more you ask people, the less number of people reply. So, but the downside is that the less you ask them, the more you get people who are not suitable asking them. So the whole idea about putting the multiple choice is it can sometimes qualify people. A good example of this is I was doing lead generation for real estate. And this was real estate where people needed to, they were asking them to buy houses worth $500,000. So the first thing is, have you got not quite, the first question was basically, without saying it in so many words, is can you afford a house worth $500,000? We use things like, are you in the market to buy now? Yes or no. that sort of gave us all this information fed back once they filled out the form, and it allowed the real estate agents to have some qualifying factors. We also used quite a lot of questions that said, have you got a loan pre-approval? Are you a first home buyer? Are you not a first home buyer? Do you have to sell the house you're in already? Now it helps with the qualifications of people, but obviously the more questions you ask, the less leads you get. So description, full name, you can have all sorts of other contact fields. There's various other things that you can ask. I would never ask demographic questions. I would never ask work information. I would never ask national ID number. Not that I think it has one for us. No, it's not. I would ask phone number. I'd never ask street address. I might ask country depending on what I was doing. But again, don't be intrusive, because the more intrusive you are, the less people are going to want to fill out your form. It's like we have an adage in marketing work that it says, don't try and go for an intimate relationship when they don't even know you from Adam. If I walked up to you in the street and I had a product or service to sell you, and I insisted on a kiss and a hug and all that sort of stuff, you'd be like, oh God, excuse me. Whereas if I walked up in a professional manner, I'm more likely to get a conversation going with you. Review your privacy policy. You've always got to have a privacy policy sitting in. Usually what we do is we link across to just the privacy policy on the website. Thanks, you're all set. So that would then go up on the Facebook. That would then go up on the ad. And you'd be seeing it, you'd be able to test it and see it on the ad that this is what happens when people click through. You can also then go and do fancy things like connect that up to a CRM so that the information's coming across out of the ad and falling directly into a CRM, as distinct from seeing it on the back end of Facebook. But I'm not going to go into that today. So here's the various ways of setting up things that you can do. So that's a very, very quick run around of how to set up Facebook ads for lead generation. There is a lot more to it than this, but this is enough to get you on the way. So we've got campaigns for those who haven't seen the back end of the Business Manager. Each campaign, so we've got 3 campaigns sitting here. Each campaign has the different ad sets. I've only ever set up one. Oh, that one had 2 ad sets. This one had 1 ad set each, and then each of them goes into the ads. There is an absolute mastering of how to make all of this stuff look sensible when you're trying to interpret results, but that's a subject for another video on another day. If you're not familiar with this back end, then another good way to go and look at it is to do it this way. Because I haven't published is probably half the problem. Normally when you go in this way, you can see all the ads. No, I haven't published. So we will look at that on another video, I would suggest, when we're looking at what happens. And then there's all things like, what are these, what do all these columns do? How do you, if you look at, and I see people a lot, they say, I can't see much on the back end of Facebook. It's because behind the scenes here, there is literally thousands and thousands and thousands of metrics you can select. So again, it's an art to know which of these do you actually want to look at. And the reality is that we don't judge whether a campaign is working or not working based on one metric. Like you'll see a lot of the e-commerce people say, only looking at conversions. We base it often on a number of metrics. So we might have a high number of impressions, which are people who are actually, and here's a little quick way to, if you hover over these, it will tell you what each of these is about. So impressions is the number of times your ad were on a screen. Reach, the number of people who saw your ads at least once. Reach is different from impressions because it might include multiple reviews of your ads by the same people. So your reach can often be higher than your impressions. Sometimes it can be lower. So we're not ever looking at just one I haven't set this up for my custom is normally a thing called results, and it's and it'll be different depending on what results I need to look at for an e-commerce campaign versus a lead generation campaign versus a lead generation that's in a certain place within its maturity versus an e-commerce that's in certain places within its maturity. There's literally millions of things you can set here. Most ad buyers don't use these default ones or this preset up. Most of us customize the columns to be, what it is we want to look at. And you turn things on and you turn things off, and then you set it. You can save it as a preset, call it whatever you like, and apply it. And then I'll be able to go to it every time I want. And then that whole we can break it down by action. So we can't do it on ad sets. On ad level, we can break it down by that by action. What are we on? We're in a lead campaign. So all of these thing options you can get here really very much depend on which type of campaign you're in. Again, I'm not seeing very much what's going on here because I'm not in a live campaign. But I will save that for another day. So I hope you've enjoyed it. If there's any questions, comment at the bottom of the YouTube video, and I will happily answer your questions. And I look forward to seeing you some other time.